When should I buy or sell my favorite prospect's Bowman card? I'm going to give you the answer today. Sal from To The Bigs here, your number one source for everything MLB prospects. Just yesterday, we dropped our spring update where I gave you 5 prospects who I believe should make their opening day rosters based off their spring performance. Check that out and check out the 2026 season preview playlist on our channel that gives you all types of coverage of prospects leading up into the season. However, today I'm going to stick with Bowman. A lot of people get into first Bowman autographs and don't understand the market. So I'm going to tell you about that market by giving you an example of a prospect card and throughout its market time, when to buy or sell based off of 5 specific events. So let's talk about it. Prospecting is based off of 2 things, and it's not performance. It's potential. I'll get into that more deeply later. And FOMO, fear of missing out. Guys want players that everyone else wants. They want to find the next MLB superstar before that player is an MLB superstar. So I'm going to talk about specifically for investment purposes. If you're trying to make your money back in Bowman, which I don't recommend, but if you wanted to, this is when you want to buy or sell. First, your prospect's first Bowman is released in its newest Bowman checklist. For example, 2025 Bowman Chrome was just dropped, and a lot of those prospects have their first autograph in that set. That is the card's beginning and entry to market. During this time, I sell almost 100% of the time. If I rip a card and pull rip a box and pull a great card or of a big prospect, or I hit one in a break, I am selling. This is what I like to call the product release premium, PRP. I think I'm going to trademark it. Everyone's values are super high when the set first comes out, and that's because of that second piece, FOMO. Everybody wants the newest prospect. So a lot of the guys from years prior kind of get kicked to the side, and everyone wants Eli Willits, JoJo Parker, Dax Kilby, Steele Hall, all of these big prospects that are jumping in because they're new and everybody wants them. So that product release premium goes into effect. Let me give you a perfect example. JoJo Parker. He was one of the top 10 picks in this year's draft, one of the biggest chases in Bowman draft. When the release came out in December, his first Bowman autograph base was going for $250. A month later, beginning of February, that same car was going for $125, half the price. And by March, it was $75. JoJo Parker hasn't played a game during that time, of course, but that is where the FOMO settles down. A lot of the market starts to cool down. Then they look at all the other prospects that they can get. So during this time, I will always sell a big card because I could always buy back in later on in the prospect's career, even just a few months later. During this time, I actually recommend going back to different Bowman checklists and getting prospects that you want. For example, when this 2025 draft came out, I looked at players from 2024 draft, like Braylon Payne from the Brewers, who I like to buy low on, or Chrome. Kevin Alvarez was one of the biggest chases, one of my favorite prospects, and he's going for a couple $100 cheaper just because the new set came out, and he's actually made more of a splash in spring and has shot up ranks as number 1 ranked Astros prospect. That's why the product release premium can play to your benefit if you chase other guys during that time. Now, the second event is the prospect is heating up in the minors, right? He just got drafted last year or signed internationally, and now he's lighting up the Dominican Summer League or Single A or A+. During this time, I am buying. This is where I try and focus my value and search for guys who start off really hot consistently for over a year and are ripping up the lower levels of the minor leagues. A lot of people haven't heard of them yet. The general public has not. So you are ahead, especially if you follow To The Bigs. We'll get you those guys early. But that's when you buy because the value will be there where the general market has not caught up to where this kid is going to go in terms of value. Now, the third event is it's now the off season. And it's the winter. We're here right now, and all the new prospect ranks are coming out for the new year. MLB.com, Fangraphs, RotoWire, Baseball America, you name it, To The Bigs. And all that one prospect you've been holding shot up from 80 to 20, or is one of the biggest, increases over year. This is a time where I'm holding. Because even though the value's there, a lot of people start to hear, the general public starts to go, oh, who's this kid? He's lighting up spring training. They start to see social media videos and stats and advanced metrics, which are so much easier to see nowadays than even a few years ago. Still, the general public is not fully there yet. They're still learning. and they're not national media attention on that player yet. So I'm holding during this time. Those prospects that shot up ranks now are getting invited to spring training. They're making a splash in spring training. I'm going to give you two different paths here because it depends on where the player is in their career, on whether you sell on a high value, a high performance spring training. First, if your prospect is performing well in spring training but does not have a path to a short-term roster, think Ralphie Velasquez, George Lombard, Zaire Hope. They're making headlines this spring, having fantastic years. People are starting to recognize, but they're not making the pros on opening day, maybe not even in the beginning of the season. At this time, I will probably sell because you sell on that high value and increase in market, and they're going to go back to the minor leagues. And some people kind of like forget about them. Things settle down and dust a little bit. They're not going to be with the major league club. So you can always buy back in later on, see how they do. But there's no real craze to get them, up to the bigs. And that's where the big money is made. So I'm either holding in certain cases or selling. Now, if the prospect is fighting for a roster spot, I'm holding. These are guys like Ryan Waldschmidt, Justin Crawford, Colt Emerson. These are guys that came into camp looking to fight for a spot and may actually win it. I'm holding because the value may be high. People may be talking them up and wanting to get in, but it never tops the final stage, in my opinion, of a prospect's card is when they get called up to the majors. Now, this is a crazy one, right? Because you think this is just the start of this guy's career. But when you look at FOMO and potential, the two things that determine the value in this market, a lot of that ends once the prospect gets called up. There's an expectation of who they are, and that's when I am selling. That's the highest value you'll ever get outside of the product release premium phase 1 because everybody wants to get the guy. The general public, when they hear Jack Caglione or Nick Kurtz or any one of those guys gets called up to the bigs, they want to get in because they want to know, did I just get the player who's going to be the next superstar before he actually is? So I'm always selling when the player gets called up. Biggest argument you ever see on Twitter that drives me nuts is a guy says, why is that prospect card going for that much money when a Mike Trout is going for this, when a Freddie Freeman is going for this? Hall of Fame players. Because the potential is gone. The player is who he is, even if he's a Hall of Fame player. The potential to hit that big increase goes away. So that's where the prospect's value is. So I will always sell when they get called up because his potential MLB career will never be higher. So there's your 5 different events, when to buy and sell a prospect card if you want to make some money. Again, check out tothebigs.com, our channel, and we have our show debuting March 18th, Wednesday at 8 p.m. To the Bigs, the Farm Report will be bi-weekly all season long. Bowman, prospects, stats, profiles, interviews, giveaways, and so much more. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.